Welcome back to the All Pass Summit Dream Big, creating a better life for yourself and the world. Now, again here with Suzanne Wagner, and I tell you, if you haven't listened to the first part yet, please do so. There are gems in there, gifts in there, understandings and insights, and especially her story of how light struck her and how her communication with the angels and the divine started at age 6. Now, you also had that moment in your life, and I would like to take the second segment specifically talking about, let me just summarize your bio, but I hope everybody watches the first part so I don't have to repeat much. You came from being a soloist dancer with renowned people like Baryshnikov. You were the prima donna. You went to the prima donna world of being the psychics, and you have done the psychic readings for over 10 years to Hollywood stars, to people of all kinds, but especially people who really need to know. Now, you've seen a lot of people have destiny, stumble stones, predicaments that go in a particular direction, as well as a future that people have created themselves. So, first of all, when we create futures, and how does that dovetail with destiny, is the one question. And can we create our own life? Can we? The second question is, what's coming for the United States? And we are now airing this summit. It's the 16th through the 19th of October. So we're putting ourselves in the time frame of what's coming from us now. That's 2017. Some of this will be dated, but some of this will be holding true for numbers of years. And then there is an overarching truth for everything that we say. So first question, Dream Big. The Universe is Listening is the book I'm writing, and it will be published right now when you're listening to this. However, it presupposes that, yeah, we can create reality from the inside out. And of course, I'm also, like you, prophetic, and I see things coming. But how do you merge the two?
I think that is the ultimate challenge, because I think it takes a lot of presence and focus and concentration and self-discipline and enough life experience that you know how to mold time, space, and energy. And I think molding that time, space, and energy is an incredibly delicate, artistic, creative, personal journey. And it's got its own flavor. It's got its own harmony. It's got its own sensuality to it. And so first is that I think that everyone can create their own destiny. And I think that most people don't have enough self-discipline to use it wisely. So they create things haphazardly, which then creates obstacles and problems and difficulties. But it's because they are unclear about their focus. And to be clear about your focus, you have to know yourself first. So you know that I've been working on a book in Tantra called Becoming Authentic Lessons in Tantra. And so sexuality is one of the main places that a lot of power and life force and vitality and energy is. And when you're gapped out from that, and I think that as a society, we tend to live from the heart chakra up, and we don't oftentimes pay attention to those lower chakras, which is diet and like what works for your body with diet. What can you eat? What can't you eat? Does that serve you? Does it not serve you?
Beautiful metaphor.
Yeah, vibrationally, does it enhance your skills and abilities and your embodiment on the planet, or does it weaken you? And everyone's so different with this. Everybody's body is so different, and you have to learn to listen. But then also related to, I always say people are so afraid of passion. They're so afraid of that deep passion that is that life force energy of the divine feminine that wells up and takes over a situation. And I go, but you have to learn to ride that current. It's like riding a wave of the goddess. And you have to be willing to take that risk and to ride that wave and to see what's going to happen on the other side. So there's this delicate balance, as you know, between chaos and control.
Yes. One is also the influx of potential, and the other one is what you shape it into. And I think the universe is simply waiting for us to create a new upgrade of the next something, rather. It's like the blossom of being God incarnated in this version. So
we're so at a critical place, as you know. This is why this timing of your summit is perfect, but that is who you are, Ilona. You are the wave setter. Like you're the wave setter. Like you warn the wave is coming. Like what you do, you're like, it's coming. I can see it a year in advance. Okay, we're going to prepare this. And we're all the way in July preparing for October. And I'm in that same place with you. It's like, I can feel, I'm like an elephant. You're like the elephant that can hear the tidal wave.
Yes.
We know the tidal wave is coming.
Yep.
And we're trying to prepare to maximize the energy of that, not from fear.
Right.
Not from fear, but from potential.
Right.
It's potential.
Okay, so you're also saying, years ago, I had a dream. I've had prophetic dreams. They say, don't do this. This is coming. A month later, exactly this comes. I had a dream. I actually published it in a round letter, and I said, on February 4th, there will be, I'd rather not even mention it here, but well, yeah, anyways, it did happen exactly then. And I dreamt it half a year in advance, and then it said 4 years hence there will be a great natural disaster, which to the date, that's when Fukushima happened, 4 years to the date. The natural disaster happened, and they warned me, and they said, these things will happen, but you can position yourself accordingly. And I warned people ahead of time, and the thing is, when you, and this is you just said the most beautiful word, I could just dance with that word, time, space, body. Tell me how we develop this time, space, body, because once you become aware of who you are in your core essence, and you let the current of life flow through you, you're letting divinity take a seat within you and say, okay, God, let's do this co-creatively. You guide, I shape. I'm your hands, you're the inspiration. This dance between inspiration and forming something in your life, between what you're meant to do and what you make out of it, this destiny and co-creation. Elaborate on how we become a more beautiful dancers of time, space, bodies. And does destiny apply to one vibratory rate of myself at a higher level? It's yet another. Can I supersede destiny by raising my vibration?
Well, I think that we all vibrate at a certain frequency, and we came in with a certain color spectrum, and we thrive in a certain element. And those elements we get to work with. But I think you can transcend your own personal element,
okay,
and become unified and harmonized with other elements. But then it's no longer a me, it's a we.
Yes.
And that's that co-creative kind of thing that first you have to own, like, okay, this is what I do well.
Yeah.
And the first thing about doing that is what you just said, which is that, we are divine. So we already were divine. We are down here on this planet because we are bringing divinity in. And we believed we could somehow be the masters of that blending between the physical reality and the spiritual reality. And so we have that divinity inside of us. Everyone's got that spark of divinity inside of us. And now we have to work that with our human self. And I find for myself, my human self is often insecure. And it doubts, and it's like, oh, I can't do it. And so I'm navigating this limited human narrow perspective when my divine self is like, no, it's much bigger than that.
It's way bigger. You are so big. Get over it.
Exactly. And so there's that place of getting over that insecurity and trusting that divine spark that is moving you beyond your comfort zone. And that's the most important thing. It's like, I had a teacher of mine say, the closer you are to fear, the more you are no longer in ego or your mind. Because as you move towards fear, your ego starts to freak out and break down. And so that's the doorway. So you head in the direction of the things that frighten you safely, consciously, and constructively.
So you become courageous and manage that which previously maybe immobilized us and becomes... And I love this process I learned from Dr. Vern Wolf. He will be on this show. He is, I call him the time traveler in my book, Dolphins, Wisdom of the Dolphins. He is literally the person who, from Utah, started out as in the Mormon church and became this scientist and has six PhDs. He describes how to transform the dark into the light. He says, embedded in the dark is the light. There is no separation. And that's what you said earlier. There is only oneness. The darkness and the light are two expressions in order to create form. So ultimately, oneness is there is only one. There isn't God and then another God or the other than God. There is God and then there is its expression in light and in darkness, or the variations on the theme.
Exactly. And that's what so many people don't understand. It's like you have to embrace what you define as your darkness. It's like,
right.
It's like it's not darkness, but it's darkness as long as I deny it. And if I deny it any energy, and when I embrace it and go, wow, there is value in this dark expression that I have in my life. Now, how can I use that the most constructively for the good?
Right, and actually start communicating with that fear, that anxiety, that insecurity. It all boils down to a few fundamental needs: to be loved and to be loved, to receive light and to become light. And I have used it to time travel with. I have written magical stories about it. Tell me about how you develop the time body.
Yeah, I mean, it's like this is one of those deeply personal things, right? Again, and everyone kind of moves there differently. I'm sure you've had the same experience that I have experiences that pop me into my time body, and they happen spontaneously. Like sometimes you can have a controlled experience. Like one time I was meditating for months and months and months and months, and I suddenly was a beam of light, and I was moving across the galaxy, and I was no longer in a body. I had no name, no defined physical, no planet, no anything, but I was still this light,
right,
this spark of light. And it was like, at first it was a little scary. And then I went, wait, I'm really okay, but I don't have a definition. I don't have an identity.
Right.
And so that happens spontaneously. And then there are things, which is like you and I both know through meditation and different forms of meditation, that you can unlock. And I think that's what we're trying to do here with this summit, is that the tools that have consistently found ways to unlock the potential hidden in different chakras and in different places in your body. And I believe that each one of us descended in our genetic line, and our genetic line is carrying places that our chakras densified and got very like lead, and places that we got fractured or fragmented and blown apart. And in our body now, we have to deal with that. And so that there's meditations that you can do to go, okay, is this one fractured? Is it good? Is it dense? How do I undensify it? And we loosen these moorings. And so it is through the meditation and breathing and body and movement, which is why I do so much embodiment practice. You do so much embodiment practice. I think most people are not enough in their body to notice.
Yeah.
So, as part of the journey, I think that it's the movement. And music, I think, is a huge piece, which is why your husband is so brilliant in everything that he does, because it's the music that can inspire that unlocking of those chakras and change them and mold them. And the music actually harmonizes them in a different way.
Right, because it's almost like speaking to us at a higher frequency. So what you're saying then, in essence, is either healing or amplifying and raising the vibration of each of our chakras, bringing all of our capacities, not just our upper head and all, but all of our chakras to brilliantly shine. And that takes time. It's not just done in one meditation and God, why didn't it happen today? It can. Some people at the end of their line say, God, help me now. And I really mean business. And God comes in and helps. And they go, that was like a turnaround. But they still have to pick up the pieces. So the people who voluntarily do this, and this is what I'm suggesting we do, I want to finish this thought, is like, so becoming familiar with your time body has to do with becoming attuned to yourself at a higher frequency. So you raise your frequency and become adjusted to who you are at a non-egoic state. right?
Yes.
You described yourself in that light journey. I do meditations. I do it with people. We focus on the chakras, but then we go out and we go to the chakras beyond the crown chakra. And there are layers and vibrational platforms, dimensions that go on beyond that and then reach into the 0 point breakthrough and then have eternity open up. Even there is capacity or space for expansion, so to speak. Contradiction in terms here. But when we do, we become the beginning and the ending. We become the alpha and the omega. We suddenly start knowing larger stretches of time space. We can see the past, we can see the future. And it's the future whispers to you when you have a bigger time body. The past tells you, informs you, and you can re-inform the past. You can change your past. You can change your genetic anchoring by changing the now. It feeds backwards. You become a multi-dimensional, multi-time being. Yes. So this is also, I'm talking like that to inspire everybody to keep going. It is phenomenal. I write about magical stories that happen to me, and I'm just like everybody, a normal human being. And we can create miracles, but it requires that we learn to identify ourselves at a heightened state. So and that's what you're promoting.
Well, and it's about learning how to access or promote or cultivate those heightened states.
Yes.
So it's about moving that energy up. And so, again, one of the things that I do when I teach workshops is that I do an exercise where we steam energy from the lower chakras, and we use music in order to access that and to steam it up. And then we transition from one chakra to the next, and we keep going up.
Yeah.
To the top, we have like a waterfall cascade of the energy back down again.
Yes.
And then we steam it up again. And then as we come back down, we start bringing in your angelic self. And
the height. Yes. Like a toroid, yes, like a fountain rises and falls. Yes.
Exactly. And so then bring that in and bring that awareness of your angelic self into the physical body and be able to blend them and let those colors blend. And the wisdom of your angelic self with the experience of your human self creates its own special mission.
Exactly.
Special, unique purpose, and that becomes the destiny.
Yes, and that's the co-creative spark that I believe God is wishing for, rather than hoping that we all disappear from the planet, disappear out of creation, only to be balled up in that nothingness, you know? It's more like, no, let's do this really well, you know? So
one of the things that I love that you said that I can't remember if you talked about before, but I have this metaphor that I play with, that what if we are all beings of light that are hundreds of thousands of light years long. And that's that umbrella, that huge umbrella, that it's bigger than time, it's longer than time, it's timeless.
Yes.
And like you said, when you become connected to that, you have the awareness that time is just, it's not relative. And then you can go back in time, just like you said,
yes,
and you can change the genetic coding.
Yes.
That happened, and it changes then you instantly in the now because you've gone back in that time. But you are not a linear being.
Right.
You're cosmic being having a linear experience,
and you
totally different.
Yes, and you speak of experience. I know that in my other interview for the TV show, you described how every bone, everything, and when they did x-rays of you, they said, how are you walking? And they said you shouldn't be, and your stars are all backwards, and you practically shouldn't be here. Tell me a little bit about the challenge that, well, you are the example of having overcome challenges and turned your life around.
Well, and that's why I think it's why I have so much compassion for people, but I also do not tolerate somebody saying it's impossible. Mm-hmm. Because I am the living embodiment of impossible. And mm-hmm. so everything in my body is in the wrong place. Nothing is where it should be. Bones are not shaped right. The hormones are missing. Adrenals are missing. I mean, everything is completely ski wonkers. And, and yet I've always been challenged, and it's like my body challenges me, but my body also has this incredible sensitivity and this incredible subtlety that I have to listen, because if I don't, it falls apart. It literally cannot cope with this world. It cannot cope with this density. So it causes me to be much more aware moment by moment of every little thought. And it's amazing how, like one negative thought is boom, the body starts to respond, and you have to have such discipline to recognize that the body is telling you, you cannot have that thought. And I understand there are people out there that have bodies that are really so strong. And so it takes a lot more negativity before they go, oh, I think I'm being negative. Whereas you and I, it's like, oh, one negative thought, and we're like, oh,
Yep, exactly. And I mean, obviously, it's also why we're out there teaching. And the thing is, I wanted to, and you know what? This is so beautiful. I had prayed for this. I mean, I'm not coming from the north. I really asked, how can we embed the sentence? You cannot afford the luxury of a negative thought. And I'd like you to take this sentence, everybody, take it home. You cannot afford, don't afford the luxury of a negative thought. Afford the luxury of redirecting your thought if it does happen. Did you mean to say, oh, da, 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 da? So many people, like when we talk to other people, say things that smack them with a negative statement, sarcastically, not wittingly meaning to do harm, but we do. And I don't even want to say any of those things, but be mindful of your speech. Buddhists are really aware of that. Be mindful, because masters utter a word and the universe listens.
Yes. Yes. And I love that phrase, the meaning of my communication is the result I produce.
Yes.
I love that phrase.
Repeat that again. Repeat. That's beautiful.
The meaning of my communication is the result I produce.
Yes.
So if my communication, that I think I'm communicating something that's positive, but you react negatively, there's an undercurrent of negativity or force or push or agenda or ego that I'm not consciously aware of. So I learn by the reflections that are in my life.
Right.
And that's why they're so important, but that's also what people don't like. They're like, well, they told me I didn't do that right. I'm like, well, that's how you learn,
Right.
It's like, that didn't work. You tried that conversation and it didn't work. And right now, like,
take
the
two.
time we're in that's coming up is so critically important of the mindfulness, of the words. And, I keep saying it over and over again. Your karma comes from your intent.
Yes.
And if your words sound okay, but the intent underneath it is not okay, there's a karmic consequence. If you do something that negates somebody or undermines somebody or makes them feel less than or harms them, you have a karmic reciprocity. And right now, that veil between your action and the response of the universe is very fast.
Yep. It's getting faster. Yeah.
So we have to really, I'm asking all of you out there that believe in a spiritual journey and a spiritual process to come together with us, with Ilona and I and all these other amazing teachers at the summit. We are doing our very best to give you what we can to help you stay on task for a positive transformation of consciousness that is essential for the next step in evolution of humanity. And we are at that door, and we all came down to be here at this moment. And if you are listening to the summit, it is because you were called and you are one of us, and we need everyone to come together.
Yes. And how and what is coming and what can we do? Can you let us know?
So the difficult things, of course, are that and I like to say this, I love all the tools of transformation. And as you know, Ilona, it's like palmistry, numerology, tarot, channeling, astrology, all of it, all of it is helpful. Okay. And all of them are different maps, but I love astrology because when astrology has a pattern, that pattern is usually very consistent and repeating. The pattern that we're going into in the fall, which is at the time that this summit is happening, is a downturn that has caused the stock market's crashes in 1929, followed followed by the Great Depression. We have also had one that was in 1958, followed by a recession that was till 62. Another one in 1987, followed by a recession that went until 1991. And so we have these downturns, and part of it is that Saturn is going into Capricorn, which is about deprivation and hardship. And when we have these aspects mixed with Pluto also being in Capricorn, we get a severe downturn where women are harmed, poor people are harmed, the greedy, wealthy people take over the planet and basically undermine the humanitarian values. And I am one of those people that says, I choose that we don't go there.
Right.
I need all of you out there to help us not go there. Okay.
Right.
That means we have to have a thought and a positive attitude, and that we have to shape now before it happens,
yes,
to put our foot down and say, I choose love. I choose that everyone is equal. I choose everyone might be on a different level in different ways, shapes, and forms, but they all have equal potential, and that potential needs to be given an opportunity for each person. And it's not about money. People keep, the greedy keep going for money. And as you know, Ilona, it's not about money. It's like when you do something you enjoy and you love,
right,
money just flows.
Exactly.
So it's not about grabbing, it's about giving.
Yeah.
And so it's about now that we need to find out how to give. As humans, we need to it's not about, I hate this, I hate that. It's about, I have something to give, and my gift is love, and my gift is understanding, and my gift is awareness. But to tap into that, hopefully that's what we're going to try and do in the summit, is to give people those doorways.
Okay, so what you see coming doesn't sound too promising. Now, the first thing that happens when we get confronted with something that could be scary, one of the things that I find personally that people, well, there's a hierarchy of needs, right? Pavlov's hierarchy of needs. We do need to have our bases covered. A lot of people live overextendedly. A lot of people think that dreaming big means to use their credit card to fulfill their dream. No, it means you assume that you are at the right place at the right time, and you will be given the tools, but you do have to show up. So you make a mantra that says, I'm at the right place, I'm guarded, guided, and protected. I have the right people around me and all the players, and that's us all who are listening, in a way that collaborate in that same frequency, that show up for each other, with each other, across the planet. And you will, when you decide to be that person, they will show up. You think of them, they'll show up next to you. All the people you need will show up in support of whatever you need to be safe, to be guarded, guided, protected, and take the right next step to help another. So with that said, you're seeing a particular destiny, but you also see that you have the choice to say within that larger destiny, this is the bubble of heaven on earth that I want to live in, right? That's what you're saying. So walk us a little bit through that. How can that look like?
Well, I believe that this situation that we're seeing globally right now is causing everybody to reevaluate their priorities. And I do believe that a huge number of people, their priority is going, I want freedom for everyone. I want compassion for everyone. I want health care for everyone. I want us all to figure out how to work together. I don't want this separation. I don't want this divide. And I think that sometimes we have to have the divide in order for us to say that divide is toxic. That separation creates illness and discord. That separation creates war. I don't want to play that. I want to unify. I want to come together.
All right. So here's the number one tip I want to give, that we probably share the same thought on that. When given a choice to be divided, ask yourself, who will profit? Who will profit? Because you can be guaranteed that the opportunities to make a choice, I stand for, I stand against, are all well coordinated and orchestrated. Ask yourself, who will benefit, or will you really benefit? If it is truly calling that keeps you awake or wakes you up in the middle of the night that says, soul, you need to show up, you need to be the one, the Joan of Arc, whatever it is, do it. But if you're simply following the predictable manipulation that says, join this club because we need two parties, they make the most amount of money with opposing parties. They sell guns to everybody, and then they fight and they go like, oh, good, we didn't have to get our hands dirty. think twice of what you want to create. Okay, so that's cool. I love that you said that. Think of where you really want to go and then make that picture big around yourself and feel what it feels like when you arrive in the heaven on earth. And that may be instantaneous, right? It just takes a second to switch.
And it's also really important, though, in that choice to not be ignoring the
Right.
dark energy or the negativity, because that's the mistake that other times
Right.
humanity has made, that it's like, I'm in my little monastery and I'm all fine, but I'm going to ignore this violence and this dark energy. I'm like, no, you cannot ignore anything at this point. You must be willing to take in the information, as painful as that is, because that information is informing you in some way, shape, and form. And you have to be informed of your own energy, including your own darkness.
Right.
You know, oh my gosh, this is the reflection of my darkness.
Right.
I have to learn to love that part of my darkness, my own violent nature. Let me get in touch with that violent nature, and let me love that violent nature and who I've been in past lives. What's the value of that? It's like, it's protective usually, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, not always bad, but there's that place that we get that.
What does it really want, right?
What does it really want? You know,
Yep.
what is it trying to say? And I mean, I remember there was one moment that, you know, I had that experience where I had to confront one of my dark parts, and I'll never forget what it said to me. It said, "You're stuck. And if you're going to stay stuck, I'm just going to take us out of this game. I'll just take it completely out of the game, because I'm not living like this." And when I realized that this thing I thought was dark, I wanted freedom.
Wow.
For me.
For you.
For me.
With your best friend.
Yes.
Yes.
And I was like, and I had labeled it as dark.
Right.
It was this bad thing, and it wasn't a bad thing at all.
Right. So you set up a conversation with that part that is contracted and find out what it really wants.
Yeah.
Exactly. And then let it show you in its evolved version what it would feel like, and let it take you into the next vibrational reality, because, like you said, the reality outside of us is a reflection for us to say, okay, so what part of me is okay with that? And then say, what do I really want? And then see the evolved version of that, the evolved version of your own reality. Mm-hmm. And that is how we evolve the next vibratory future for humanity.
Yes, absolutely.
We are the transmuters. We are the alchemists of the world, from around us to within us, and we start living within the vibration. There are people who walked like Moses, right? Walked straight through the ocean. And I mean, miracle stories, I believe, really happen. I have had miracle stories in my own life where you go, when I tell them, I still go like, if I hadn't lived through it, I'd go like, wow, that sounds nice. That's a nice story. But no, literally the walls will part. And of course, when you have the focus and your time body is aligned, you can cut through steel. However, getting there, I mean, you don't start practicing with a steel wall, right? So you practice with small things, you know, with parking lots.
Right. Or a thought or a belief.
Yes.
You know, like a belief that you know is there, but it's not a good belief.
Right.
You know it's a false belief, and yet you start noticing where it's infected your whole psyche.
Right.
And it's like, how to get that out.
How to transform it, and how to find out the benefit of what its higher potential actually has in store for us as a gift. Mm-hmm. Because when we take the time to talk to it, and Dr. Vern Wolf will talk about it, I will actually talk about it in my presentation, that diving into the core center of the darkness allows you to say, I get it, and it becomes your ally. And then you can literally do magic, because you are above it. You're no longer affected like a puppet. You're no longer bouncing back between light and dark. You're rising above it, and you're embracing it.
Well, and also what's so important about the magic is, like you said, the darkness is in the lower chakras. And when you start uncovering these things and you are willing to actively confront the darkness, you reveal the delusion and illusion that you have been living under. And once you dispel the illusion, there's so much energy in the lower chakras that you didn't even know you had. And the moment the illusion is gone, you have access to a wellspring of energy that you are going to be shocked by, which is where the magic shows up, because then the lower chakras are magnetic, and it's magnetic, and all of a sudden stuff starts coming to you so quickly. It's like I dispelled this one belief, and all of a sudden people started showing up, and teachers and information and people wanting to help me, and everything started showing up because
Wow.
those lower chakras are magnetic by nature.
Right. So a good carrot incentive for us to dive in, and with some guidance, maybe from some teachers or coaches or whatever, get into yourself and listen to finer and finer levels until you illuminate all your chakras, like you described, and then become a finer vibrating being, which is, like you said, you use that beautiful metaphor of the umbrella, of umbrella-ing time space at a grander level, at a greater expanse. So is there anything that I should have been asking you that we all need to know that's coming up in the next 2 years for our future here, as we are looking at it from a global perspective?
So again, and you know me, I'm not the gloomy goat psychic, okay? But again, astrologically, numerologically, when I look at it, it's like I am the most concerned about the next 2.5 years, 3 years going forward. They are the most critical element, which is why your summit is so critical at this point in time, that it's time to gather together the light workers. It's time for the light workers to awaken. It's time for them to come together. I have a particular harmony frequency color. You have a particular harmony frequency color, and blend them to create a symphony of change. And you can feel it welling up. You can feel it welling up. And I understand that sometimes, as the light comes on, the darkness will try to oppress further. But I just choose in this moment that the darkness is not going to win, because I am going to love the darkness into light.
Right. And actually, I love it because it is the stepping stone. I mean, take an image of the sunlight beaming its light into the ocean. At the very top, it's luminous. At the very bottom, zilch. It doesn't mean there isn't a photon down there. It's just not that many. And up at the top, you have the steam going up, and then you go to the light, and then you fly into the sun, and then you're inside that luminous sun. Well, talk about brilliance, That's very different than being at the top of the ocean level. So it all depends relative to where you are. There will be always greater light, and there will be always greater darkness. That's why we reach up a hand to ask for help, and reach down a hand to give help.
Yes.
And
I love the metaphor of the ocean, like you were saying, because one of those lovely things is that there are these deep ocean shrimp that are in pitch darkness at the bottom of the Mariana Trench. And they've got something like 22 rods in their eyes, so they can see in pitch darkness.
They can still see.
They actually can see. And so I love the darkness because it creates a skill, a tool.
Right.
So there is a way to navigate darkness. Yes, you have to sometimes learn how to navigate the darkness, but there's a value in darkness, because then there's so much more color and there's so much more depth. Like, they see color down there, and that's like so amazing to my brain.
Right.
So there's value both ways.
And, one time I had a dream where I dreamt that we are here on planet Earth. Like, imagine you were an astronaut where there was no gravity on a planet, and you were bouncing around and flying. Well, your muscles equally don't develop there. But down here, we have gravity. We have to do our muscle lifting, spiritually speaking, emotionally, mentally, discipline, focused thought, listening to the subtle nudges. We have to do all that. And that's like building our spiritual muscle. And then you become so fine-tuned. When we are released into pure luminosity, we also are that much more powerful. Yes. Because the pull, the centropic force of gravity, which binds everything together and gives beautiful shapes to flowers and me and you, is also then no longer pulling, and we are poof out there, and then we really need to have our spin together. So destiny being one part. So you say that when you give readings to people, you see potentials, you see a roadmap, and you say, depending on where they're at in their luminosity, they can make the best of this as stepping stones and become even greater.
Well, and I believe that everyone will ultimately touch at different points in time their destiny. The trick is, does the destiny then become your life?
Okay.
because there's moments where you touch destiny and it's like, oh, but then it goes away, and I
Mm-hmm.
think the goal is that, okay, that was my destiny. Now, how can I live that destiny?
On a
And that it
day-to-day basis.
yes, that's the challenge.
Yeah. So how to hold on to be that still flame of the candle that is lit and not flickering back and blown out by the winds, but staying steady.
And that means that you have to know yourself. So
Really well.
the joke I use with myself is that when I was a little girl, the reason I wanted to be a ballet dancer, and this was the reason, I said I wanted for 1-2 hours to transport everyone in the audience out of their life, their problems, their struggles, and into the magical world that is a happy ending, and that is love and light.
Yes.
And then when I realized that even in my work, I'm still doing that destiny that I touched when I was a little girl is still the destiny that rules me today. It is still the same destiny. I want to show people the way out of their suffering, the way out of their drama, the way out of their limitation.
Right.
Show them there's so much more if they will just get out of their little perceptual bubble.
Right. And suffering by definition is when we're contracted, not willing to expand. I mean, suffering is the nature of the universe saying, you're on the wrong path. You open up, you feel love. The universe says, keep going. That's working. Cool. Awesome. So you know what, Suzanne, when you have given me readings, I have felt this exact result from you. You've shared, you've given the insights. They've been like, sign these contracts then, do this. You'll probably see these contracts coming. You see this coming in then, like half a year in advance. And that's exactly how it happens. And I'm like going, whoa. Now, when I'm done with a reading with you, for example, I feel that you must have angels working with me, because whatever happens, it's like almost they go, they upgrade the destiny to a higher grade. This is my feeling. Yeah. It's like they're little light bubbles that come in and go, whatever may have not been either unfelt or conscious, but that there is not potentially useful, gets transformed and it's a happy ending.
Yeah. The gurus used to say that my energy is like a musical instrument, that when I get close to someone's energy field, I play their song back to them. And when they hear their song, they remember who they are and they immediately vibrate at that level because they recognize themselves.
Yeah.
And instantly, all those little bubbles start to align, like all those little places start to come into play. And they're like, oh, yeah, right. That's who I am. And then the angels are like, yay, now you remember. Let's do this. Now we're going to get all this put together. Let's go for this. Let's do this.
Awesome. So we have destiny as a potential. We have what we make out of destiny ourselves, either the really luminous one and or our, I haven't learned my lesson yet, but I'm working at it. But whatever, the dreaming big is always that potential of guiding us towards our greater destiny of who we truly are. That's the calling. That's the remembrance of what we are here for. So you said to do something good for the planet. I have a suggestion that all of us here from the summit every Saturday start sitting down and thinking of your pet idea of a great transformation for planet Earth. Maybe, like for me, it was, let's take 1 year. I took plastic. I said there has to be something that transforms plastic into its original components. And it's got to be developed, or I'm sure it's on the planet already. I did this every Saturday for about 15 minutes maximum. Just held the vision as if I am already living in that world like that. So 15 minutes, I lived in the future as if it had happened now, felt it, and allowed that possibility. Instead of focusing on everything piling up and being a trash pile, I saw the bacteria digesting it all. Something. I didn't know what the solution would be. A year later, in Germany, they revealed that in South Africa, they discovered an anaerobic bacteria that decomposes plastic in the dirt without oxygen into something that is organic and then becomes compost. It's out, it's there. And they are working on it around the planet on getting this useful this transformative bacteria set into motion so we can purify our garbage trap. So not to imagine the heaps getting bigger, or the dirty oceans and going, oh no, I don't want to see dirty oceans. It's like, see the solution.
Right.
So let's take every Saturday or every Sunday, whenever you have a moment, 15 minutes. Pick your pet joyful project of transformation, whether it's women's rights or liberty for all or respect, love, sex, wealth, happiness, trash, free energy, illumination, whatever it is you want to see, and see the solution.
Well, and what I want to point out, what you just did so brilliantly there, that I want to illuminate for everybody, is that you put energy, your pure-hearted love energy out. And it was captured by somebody who had that dream.
Right.
It gave them the energy and the intelligence to discover that bacteria. Like
right.
you gave them this energy from your pure heart, from your pure light, to the person whose mission and destiny it was to discover that.
You hold that. Yes. You impregnate the field. Yes.
Yes.
Yes. We water the garden of the future with our thoughts and feelings. Mm-hmm. So let's tend a good garden. Let's create your heaven, our all heaven on earth. And I no longer feel like everybody has to live in my kind of heaven. However, I know a lot of people want to live in a beautiful heaven. So let's each take our own solution and visualize it. Take a year. Commit to a year every weekend, 15 minutes. Are you in? Are you in? Is everybody in? Yes. Suzanne, you also, and let me ask you, do you have something that you can give us as a special offer to where you only do it on the summit here and you give us a special discount on something, how we can get closer to either any of you, your courses or anything?
Absolutely. So, if you sign up for the summit, it's like I am giving you a free PDF copy of my numerology book, which is 165 pages or so, and a workbook that I put together so that you can actually discover your soul essence, your karmic energy, your gifts, your path, and your destiny. And so that is my gift to you. And it's a beautiful book, and everybody loves this book and the workbook so that you can, go step by step and work through it so that you can really understand it and discover the power of the numbers in your life, from your birth date and your name and your driver's license and your phone numbers and all those things, and notice what patterns or maps you have put together for yourself and why, and are those serving you?
Yes.
Like I said, again, there's a discount on readings. So my readings are normally $120 an hour, and the discount is $90 an hour for people.
Awesome. Yeah. Yes, thank you. Thing
for that. And then again, they also get the meditation CD, the Tarot meditation CD, so that they can actually go in and use that and work with the meditations for the archetypes, because Tarot is really about archetypes. And once you understand archetypes, then you can understand how to map your own mind and what your own mind and your own spirit and the angels are trying to tell you.
Yes.
Because oftentimes angels and higher forces talk to us through metaphor.
Right.
So there's a few different gifts in there.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I have archetype people around me that come from warrior to the king. Maybe I'm the divine priestess, prostitute, daikini. I have that lineage. I'm not going to be the warrior. I just am not. I'm not going to shape myself into it. It's not in my cards. But I do what I do really well, and that's what we can do. We can take the pattern we chose in our incarnation to blossom it into its potential.
And what I challenge everyone out there is that I go, every one of you out there has a gift. And, this is, and you and I are the same way. It's like, this isn't about money anymore. This is about, there is information and knowledge out there that desperately needs to be shared with people who are ready to have that information. And that's what this summit is about. That's what the gifts that each of the different women and men that are part of this summit are giving. It's no longer about us. It's about that we want
make a difference.
To share this.
Yes.
It's really important. And so please take that gift with all the heart that is behind that. So.
Yes. Awesome. And spread it and let other people know about it. Super awesome. Thank you, Suzanne. I can't tell you how amazing your readings have been for me in my life. And that's why for the last, what has it been, 25 years I've been coming back?
Years.
Awesome. All right. Well, that gave our age away. All right. Well, thank you so much, Susan, and everybody who's out there joining us here. Thank you for being part of the solution and envisioning a better place on the planet, on Earth here. Namaste.
Namaste.